Now, starting off for a little bit of a review, let's talk about what a market-based economy really is, because I've referred to this before in class as America having a market-based economy. What it really is saying is that America is more capitalist than it is communist or command-like. In saying that, I'm referring to the fact that America. Well, let's do it this way. Imagine a market, not necessarily a supermarket, but more like a market on a street if you're visiting like a city or something of that nature. When you go downtown, you might find, or to one of these markets, you'll see that people are selling whatever they have that they would like to sell. And then also people are buying whatever they would like. There's no government involvement saying you have this, you have that. It's all based upon people making choices. So the market-based economy really is based upon choice, and that's what we do have in America. In a market-based economy, there are two sides to this. There's the producer side, which is the supply end, where businesses say, hey, I want to make some money, so let's sell something. On the other end, you have consumers saying, hey, I need this product, so I'm going to buy it. Those two sides work together to determine what products are going to be available and even at what price they will be. Now, supply is the first end, which is the producer or business end. And we talked about the law of supply, which states that when the price of an item is high, the quantity supplied is also high, meaning that, let's say you're selling shirts. If the price of a shirt is $50 and that's a major profit for you, you're going to want to supply as many as you possibly can at that price. But when the price drops down to being $20, you're going to say, not really worth supplying as many. So that's what the law of supply is really focused on. On the other end, we have the law of demand. When the price of an item is high, the quantity demanded is low. So as consumers, as buyers of products, we want the price to be low on things. Now, price is the number one most important factor there, but also there are some other things to consider, including advertising. Advertising is one of the major factors that affects demand because, well, it might create a little bit more of a demand for something that we previously didn't really care as much for. For example, let's look at this ad right here with Taylor Swift selling Got Milk. It says, what tactics are used in the advertisement to sell milk? We'll take a second, look at this, then come back. Now, some things you might notice. First off, it has a slogan with Got Milk. Then you have somebody famous endorsing it. Taylor Swift made, I heard, $100 million or more last year with her music and everything else, so she's probably a good person to advertise for this since she is obviously very popular. You could also say some of these things over here are tactics. If you actually read what it says here, one part says, some studies suggest that teens who choose milk instead of sugary drinks tend to be leaner. So in other words, what it's suggesting is science supports milk. That's a really good type of tactic as well. And then lastly, it says body by milk. So it's trying to say, look, she looks that way because of milk. Well, it might not be 100% true. It is a pretty good advertisement for a lot of reasons. Now, our targets for today. I want you to be able to explain why companies are willing to pay so much money for advertisements, and also I want you to be able to identify advertising techniques and explain why each can be effective in increasing demand for their product. Basically, what you're going to be doing with this in the end, not today, but down the road next week, is creating your own product, and I want you to be able to advertise it effectively using some of the tactics that are discussed in this lesson today. Now, how does advertising work? Well, there's a lot of different versions of advertising. We have commercials like TV and radio where you see all kinds of commercials. In print and newspapers, magazines, maybe even in flyers in the mail and postcards. In public, you see it on billboards and in kiosks. Like a kiosk is like a display case in a mall kind of where you can see things being advertised. Even celebrity exposure, just the fact that somebody's wearing something oftentimes is enough just to advertise it, and people get paid a whole lot of money for that. And even think about this, beyond celebrity exposure, just general population exposure. When you buy shirts, let's say, in my first class today, I saw people wearing Abercrombie, Hollister, Nike, those things, when it has really a big logo on it, that's really another type of sales tactic that is being used. Companies do pay a lot of money for some forms of advertising. 30-second TV commercials, if you look at some of these prices coming back, these are some of the big ones obviously, but the Super Bowl in 2011, $3 million. American Idol 2008, $780,000. Monday Night Football in 2006, $323,000. That's for 30 seconds of advertising what these people are paying. That's because they know they're going to hit a lot of people and get a lot of people to view it, so it really could be very effective. Nike itself spends over $1 billion of advertising in a year. Looking back a couple years, it said that they spent $476 million on athletes, including $12 million for Brazil's football team, which football in America is really soccer, but on their soccer team or football team wearing Nike shoes, $12 million just so they would only wear Nike shoes. Amazing when you think about how that really works. And this kind of got cut off here, but it says because of this, companies make sure that their advertisements are very well planned and meet specific criteria. Now, here's one example of an endorsement. LeBron James, like many other athletes, they make their money based upon advertising. If you actually were to look and say, how is it that the Colts could pay Peyton Manning $100 million, or Albert Pujols can get $275 million to go play for the Anaheim Angels? it really connects back to the idea that, well, they're getting paid a whole lot of money, these businesses, these sports teams, through advertising on commercials, at their stadium, and everything else, including from some of these companies, so their team wears the certain apparel that they do. So it's important to understand that that money is really coming from advertising. That's why athletes get paid so much. Now, some criteria that I want you to be thinking about. These are not the only criteria, but it's a few just to be thinking about it. First off, the target audience. Who is an advertisement targeting? Let's say we're talking about Fruit Loops with Toucan Sam. It's not really targeting adults, and that's evidenced by a couple things. Number one, it's not on TV at night when most adults will be watching TV. When you see a Fruit Loops commercial, it's most likely on during the day, maybe during cartoons or something of that nature where kids will be watching it. So maybe we could say the target audience is children 3 through 10. That's a guess right there, not to say that it's 100% foolproof. What tactic is being used? Now, there's a lot of different tactics. You sometimes have celebrity endorsement, as we've already seen with 2 of these. Sometimes you'll see bandwagon, where they try to make it seem like everybody's doing it, so you better as well. Sometimes it might be what's known as snob appeal, where they try to make it seem like, oh, you're going to be very cool, and only the best can really buy this product. And they sometimes do that with cars that are a little bit more expensive, so they try to make it that sense. The opposite of snob appeal is plain folk. They might have it so they make it seem like, oh, the average person, this is great for you. You know, there are a lot of different tactics used. We could say humor, scientific claims, many of these, and you'll be looking at them on some of these videos today. Memorable. What makes it memorable? Sometimes they use slogans and jingles to try to make it so that you can remember it. You know, like Nike, just do it. Got milk, you already saw. I mean, some of those are very simple slogans, but it makes people remember that company. A jingle is another thing that, you know, if you hear a little song that gets associated with it, like I was saying, Century 3 Chevrolet, there's a little jingle that goes with that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life because I've heard it so many times. Even also, one thing that's not listed on here is a logo. They have logos for their companies to make it so that it's a little bit more memorable too. So a lot of things about it they're really trying to do. And most importantly, they're really trying to effectively sell the product. Does it do that? Well, some don't do it very well. It's an interesting thing. I read an article a couple months ago about how Old Spice, with their new campaign, which I think is pretty funny, well, I think it's funny, but apparently it's not actually working. So that's one example of something where, is it effectively selling it or not? Now, it's really tricky to figure out if something's effectively selling a product, because some commercials don't make any sense when you're talking about connecting them actually to their product, yet they still are effective in increasing demand in some way. Maybe the humor is enough, maybe it's memorable enough. Whatever it is, it still does work. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some of these videos, and I want you to write down some of these things. I want you to consider 4 main things. Now, I'm not going to do this the same way on here as I did in class. I'm just going to have you watch the videos. I want you to think about, what are the tactics being used? Who is the target audience? Is it memorable? Think about those things to determine whether or not this is effective. Some other things to consider as you watch these videos. Is there writing on there? Are they trying to use endorsements? If there is writing, let's get back to that one. Is some writing in bold? Is some writing emphasized, or some terms emphasized? Is there a comparison made? Is there some sort of emotion attached? I mean, there's a lot of things to consider in these commercials. Don't think for a second that these ad agencies put these together in 5 minutes and say, oh yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a cool idea. I mean, they take a lot of time and they spend a whole lot of money on this as well to make sure that it really is effective. So watch some of these videos, think about the different things, and then that's going to be what we do here. Now, if you missed class today, what I want you to do also is to find a couple advertisements on your own and then bring those advertisements. You don't have to literally bring them back, but write down what they were and write down the tactics, target audience, and what they're trying to do. Okay? So enjoy these videos here, and I hope that you can get a lot out of this.
Drivers who want to get the most out of their cars, it's Bridgestone or nothing.
Mommy! Mommy, 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 mommy! 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 Mommy!
Dollar for dollar, nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate.
Beth Ann, 3,000 texts last month.
MWRUS?
That wasn't a compliment. Sean, 1,000 texts?
UGH.
And you're old enough to know better.
MYOB, will you?
Grandma.
Mom, who could you be texting?
IDK, my BFF Rose.
Now get a texting plan the whole family can enjoy. AT&T brings your family unlimited messaging to anyone on any network. Now buy any phone and get up to 4 free. Singular's name is now AT&T.
This is not acceptable. Bryce in Minnesota, you shouldn't have to get this from Domino's. We're better than this.
When we launched ShowUsYourPizza.com, we asked our customers to be the photographers, and we've been thrilled by the results.
But this, it really gets me upset. I'm Patrick Doyle, the CEO of this company. We're not going to fail. We aren't going to deliver pizzas like this. I guarantee it.
So we're extending our $5.99 inspired pizza deal because we want to see even more of your pizza shots.
We're still listening. We're going to learn. We're going to get better.
From director Michael Bay and executive producer Steven Spielberg.
Last night you told the officer your car transformed.
Cars don't do that because that would be crazy.
On July 4th,
Are we talking about invasion?
everything changes.
Bring it!
Transformers, July 4th everywhere.